Welcome to another exciting digital design class. We're going to go through homework number 9, and it's chapter 8 is the material, and it's pages 382 to pages 448. So that's the chapter, and that's where we're at. And it's going to include topics like complex counters, more machines, mealy machines, gray code, and what else do we need to know? Reverse engineering, forward engineering, and let's see if there's anything else in here we need. I think that's it. Just make sure. There's a lot of material here. Stuff you can skip. That's important. Able, VHDL. You'll get that if you take Digital Design 2. Let's see. What else do you have to skip? Alright. I think that just about covers it. You want to put a special emphasis for the more machines and mealy machines on figures 8.23 and 8.24. So that's the figures. And let's see, what else do you need? Oh, another thing you can skip is ASM charts. I'm not going to use that. Let's see what else. I think that's it. So that ought to get you guys here, center this. That ought to get you guys going and maybe keep you out of the bars or something. Yes, is there a question? So, hope you had a restful break. What I would do is try and cover some of the basic ideas so that you can have a good overview of how to approach problems. So let's start with this idea of reverse engineering. So with reverse engineering, what you want to do is you want to go through a 4-step process. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. Now you're done. Oh, wait, you have to know what the steps are. So, first step, you're going to get a schematic. So, reverse engineering is typically done in this way. You're given a circuit, and you want to find the finite state machine that the circuit implements. So that's called reverse engineering. Forward engineering, you're given the finite state machine and you want to find the circuit. There will always be questions in forward engineering and reverse engineering on the final. So first thing you want to do when you got a circuit is you want to write the equations of the circuit. Second thing you want to do is you want to write the present state. Then you want to come out with the remapped excitation table. And then you want to write the next state. So /finite state machine. So you need to go through these 4 steps. You can't skip a step, or else it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so you'll find questions like that in homework 9. For forward engineering, it's kind of, you start with the present state, next state table. Right, so let's do that next. Get the present state, next state table. The second thing you want to do is select your flip-flop. It hasn't been described there already for you. Then write the remapped excitation table, RMET, remapped excitation table. And then, oops, you want to have the circuit, perhaps from K-maps. That'll give you your implementation. So it's a question of input and output. With forward engineering, you're given a finite state machine and you want to find the circuit. With reverse engineering, you're given a circuit and you want to find the finite state machine. That's the devil's in the details. Believe me, this is not trivial, but that's essentially all you need is a 4-step process to go in another direction. So that's one thing. Next thing is the Moore machine versus the Mealy machine. Let's take a look at these figures. So I'm going to show these figures. It's easier than drawing them out. It don't look like it's in focus. You know, if you change the level of the book, you got to refocus the camera. I guess that's alright. Let's do something about the contrast. I don't know. Maybe that's better. Anyways, there's a Moore machine, and this is the Mealy machine, and these are 2 different things, and you can tell they're different because inputs will not propagate to the output unless there's a clock pulse. The clock pulse allows you to take the combinational logic and the feedback and go through to get to the next state. That makes this system, the Moore machine design, synchronous. That's because it only changes in time with the clock. In comparison, here comes the Mealy machine. Mealy machine can have outputs which change whenever the inputs change. They don't necessarily have to change with the clock, although the clock can cause changes too. So what that means to me, the designer, is that the Mealy machine is a little less safe. Moreover, we can identify Mealy machines versus Moore machines by the way in which the finite state machine diagram is written. In the case of a synchronous, in the case of the synchronous Moore machine, your state, as 0, can have an output which is represented here. You'll only get your output when you get to that state. In comparison, inputs and outputs are written in this fashion. It says if the input is 0 and you're in state 0, not only do you transition to state 1, but during that period of time your output is 0. If you're in state 1 and you get it as 0, you stay in state 1 and your output is 0. If you're in state 1 and you get a 1, you transition to state 0 and at the same time you output a 1. And if you're in state 0 and you get a 1, you stay in state 0 and output a 1 each time. So this is a different machine. That's Mealy, right? Because that has an asynchronous output. Asynchronous. This is more as it is synchronous. Synchronous. Synchronous, asynchronous. More, mealy. I know they sound similar. I know it's confusing. But that's just the way it is with this course. And it's easy to forget which one is which. Believe me, I've done that plenty of times myself, and I've been doing this for a while. More and mealy. Moore's got the outputs as a function only of the state. Mealy has an output which is a function not only of the state, but of the input. And that's why mealy is asynchronous. So that's the bird's eye lowdown on the Moore versus Mealy caper, whatever that means. So there you go. Next topic, gray code. Any questions about this so far? So another topic always appears on the final, is going to appear in homework 9, which is your next homework due Monday, is gray code. Gray code was named after Frank Gray. He started in 1947 with a patent that said it's describing a code for which there is no name. And he became famous for it, so they named it after him, which is an eponym, right? An eponym. What is an eponym? You guys can tell me that. It's a nice SAT word for you. Eponym. If you're going to take your GRE verbal, you'll need to know eponym. Oh, that's with an M. Eponym. Anybody know? Nobody knows what an eponym is? Einsteinian notation is an eponym because it's a notation named after Einstein. Boolean algebra is an eponym because it's an algebra named after George Boole. Gray code is an eponym because it's named after Frank Gray. So if it's a noun that's named after the person that created it, that's an eponym. So there's your GRE verbal word for the day. Word for the day. So let's take a look at some of this gray code stuff. Gray code allows you to create what's called a bit vector that changes by only a single bit as you move from one row to the next. So for example, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Only one bit of change as you go from one row to the next. You say, hey, wait a minute, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this? The answer is, you've probably seen it on a K-map. Ooh. And here comes a part, a lecture which I like to call Fun with K-maps, because K-maps are fun. Aren't K-maps fun? Yes, Professor Line. Very fun. Let's get a color. I like color. Okay. I'm going to snake through this K-map. I'll start here and I'm just going to wind my way through the K-map. And as I wind my way through the K-map, I'm going to write down the numbers. 0, 1, 3, 2, 6. It's kind of a weird order, right? 7, 5, 4. Oh, look, it's a counter. Let's write it in binary. Oops. So as you go from one row to the next, there's only one bit that changes in each row. That's gray code, only it's a 3-bit gray code. Isn't that cool? And all you had to do was wind your way through the K-map. Similarly, you can do it with a 4-variable K-map. Just wind your way through 0, 1, 3, 2, 0, 1, 3, 2. Let's see if you can see it. There. 6, 7, 5, 4, 6, 7, 5, 4, 12, 13, 15, 14, 12, 13, 15, 14, 10, 11, 9, 8, 10, 11, 9, 8. Write it in binary, and lo and behold, there's only one bit that changes as you go from one row to the next. K-maps. Fun with K-maps. Isn't that fun? Somebody's raised a hand. Yes, Alvin. Ah, thank you. Forgot all about the purpose. Why do I need it? What's it good for? Excellent. Excellent. So let's take the simplest gray code, this 2-bit gray code right in here. And let's build an encoder wheel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's assign the quadrants 0, 1, 3, 2. And we have 2 bits. And if it's 0, then the bits are going to be 0, 0. If it's 1, it's going to be 0, 1. If it's 3, it's 1, 1. And if it's 2, it's 1 and 0. So what you can do is you can build an encoder wheel, and as the encoder wheel turns, you'll be sure that you're not going to see more than 1 bit change as the wheel turns. So it gives a built-in kind of error checking or error redundancy. So this enables you, when you're decoding the encoder wheel, and perhaps encoding it for odometry, or perhaps mouse movement if you like, you'll be able to see if there's an error in terms of a transient as you turn the encoder wheel mounted on a shaft. People do this all the time for shaft encoding the motors on a robot arm, because what you want to do is you want to precisely position your robot arm so that you can know what the joint angle is going to be. That enables you to have good control. You can use it for rotating anything that requires some form of servo feedback. So this is effectively a servo feedback encoder. So that's one application. And if you want better angular resolution, just add a bit. That'll double your angular resolution. But then it takes twice as long to draw it. Add another bit, make a 4-bit encoder, and then you've got yourself 360 degrees divided by 15 parts. And you can increase that by the number of bits. One way to encode it is you can color things in and read it optically through reflection, or you can drill a little hole and read it optically through transmission. We have some SIR1 robots that have these very same gray code encoder wheels on their motors, so you can encode the joint positions. So that's that. That's for encoding the odometry coming out of the joint angle. Let's see, what else do we have here? I had a list. Oh, here's my list. It's sitting in my lap. So we did the gray code, a little discussion. Talked about the Moore machines and Mealy machines. And now we can talk a little bit about the complex counters. So for the complex counters, what you want to do is, this is, believe it or not, that's a simple counter. It visits each state once and only once, and then repeats. Simple counter. This is a simple counter, even though it's much more complicated. It's a simple counter because it repeats no states, visits each state once and only once. In fact, you don't even have to visit each state as long as you're not visiting any state more than once. But if you have a counter that says I can count up 0, 1, 2, 3, or I can count down 3, 2, 1, 0, back to 3, then your up-down counter counts up when you go like this and counts down when you go like that. And so that's a that's the deal. That's a complex counter. And it's very close to being what you might call a finite state machine. A degenerate counter is really just a degenerate finite state machine. So that's the bird's eye lowdown on the counter caper. And now you've seen complex counters, more machines, Mealy machines. More machines are synchronous, Mealy machines are asynchronous. You've seen gray counters, gray code. You've seen reverse engineering, basic sketch. You've seen forward engineering, basic sketch. And that's basically all you need from Chapter 8. The rest is learning how to make it all work. And for that, we have some drill work, which is based in homework number 9. Homework 9 is kind of a big one. I think there's over 30 questions. So you're going to have to do some work. It's due on Monday, and that's kind of a, kind of an issue, a little bit of an issue, but you'll be able to handle it, I'm sure. So why don't we start by asking if there's any questions for homework 9. Sure. Let's see. Question 11. Okay, so question 11 is a reverse engineering question. Question 11, we write the equations, we write the present state, we write the remapped excitation table, we write the next state in finite state machine. So first thing we have to do is write the equations. That's the first thing. So let's do that. Given a 3-bit counter, use reverse engineering for this self-starting counter. So what do we see? T sub A, this is question 11. T sub A equals, you tell me, what does T sub A equal? Ashley, can you tell me what T sub A equals? Well, there's A going into an exclusive OR, which feeds T sub A, and then there's B, C, goes into an exclusive OR gate. Now can you tell me what T sub A equals? That's an OR gate here. Can anybody help me? Yes, Alvin. A OR, B exclusive OR, C. Right, because that's an exclusive OR gate right there. Yeah. So you can rewrite this as A OR B prime C or C prime or B C prime. That's how you do that. So then you can look at T sub B. Can somebody tell me what T sub B equals? Well, let me draw it for you in case you're having troubles. So A goes in, right? And then it looks like B goes in, right? That's T sub B. So what does T sub B equal? That's just A or B. That's it. Now let's do T sub C. What does T sub C equal? Are you guys looking at this thing? It's BC is going into an exclusive OR gate. Okay, I'll do that. I'll draw it out. What do I care? And then put in an A. And then that's T sub C. So what does T sub C equal? That's correct. And the way you say that is B exclusive NOR C. And that can be written as BC or B prime C prime. So now we have performed the writing of the equations. Now we got to write the present state. Next step. Here's A, B, and C flip-flops. And that is your present state. And now it says here, I'm going to follow the directions. Right, here's my directions. I need the remapped excitation tables. So I get that from the equations. Here's the equations. And so now I can write out what the inputs are for T sub A, T sub B, and T sub C. And I do that by taking the equations, and then I proceed to examine the equations. T sub A says it's a 1 if A is equal to 1. It's a 1 if BC follows the pattern 0, 1. It's a 1 if BC follows the pattern 1, 0. Otherwise it's 0. And people see how to do that. You're taking the equation, you're mapping it to a remapped excitation table by filling out the table based on this equation. That's the whole point of writing this equation. A or B gets written here, so if A is a 1, T sub B must be 1. If B is a 1, T sub B is a 1, otherwise everything's 0. That was easy. Now I have A. If A is a 1, I write out 1. I have BC, so if I see 1, 1 in the least significant 2 bits, put in a 1. I have B prime C prime, so if I say 0, 0 in the least significant 2 bits, I put in a 1. Otherwise I put in 0. These toggle flip-flop inputs will toggle the present state to give me a next state during the next clock cycle. And according to my directions, after the remapped excitation table, I have to write the next state, and then the finite state machine. That's what it says. So I'm following the directions. Toggle flip-flops cause the present state to toggle. So if there's a 1, 0 gets turned into a 1, and otherwise it's left alone. So this becomes 0, 0, 1. Here the most significant bit gets changed. Everything else remains the same. So the 0 gets turned into a 1, and everything else is 0, 1. Here I see the most significant 2 bits get changed, so 0, 1 becomes 1, 0. Here I see the least significant 2 bits get changed, so the whole thing turns to 0. Here I see every bit gets changed, so 1, 0, 0 becomes 0, 1, 1. Here I see 1, 0, 1 becomes 0, 1, 0. Here I see 1, 1, 0 becomes 0, 0, 1. And here I see 1, 1, 1 becomes all 0. How am I doing? What's my next step? Let's follow the directions. It says here I got to write the finite state machine. I got the next state. So what do I do? I don't know. Let's number the truth table. 0, 1, 2, 3. So 0 goes to 1. 1 goes to 5. 5 goes to 2. 2 goes to 4. 4 goes to 3. 3 goes to 0. And what am I missing? Well, 6 goes to 1. 7 goes to 0. And now let's see if I got everything. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yep, I got all my states. And that is my finite state machine, which represents the last phase of my step in reverse engineering. Given the circuit diagram, write the equations, write the present state, write the remapped excitation table, come up with the next state, write the finite state machine diagram. That's reverse engineering. There will always be a reverse engineering problem on the final. And in fact, there's one on homework 9, as we can see. And in fact, there's more than one. You can go to 3 or 4 bits if you like, or even more. Okay. Does that answer the question? So, yeah, so here we are in we got the remapped excitation tables. You're with me on that one, right? Oh, just this one? Yes, so here's the present state. This is the next state. So here's present state, next state. The present state becomes the next state because of the remapped excitation table. So if I see 1, 1, 1 as bits in the present state and my toggle flip-flops are stimulated with 1, 1, 1, every single one gets toggled to a 0. If I am 1, 1, 0, 1s go to 0 and the 0s go to 1. That's why I inverted 6 and became 1. Here I have 5, it's going to get inverted and it becomes 2. Here I get 4, it becomes inverted and I get 3. Here I have the 2 least significant bits are being inverted, and so now I have all zeros. Here I've got inversion on the 2 most significant bits, so 0, 1, 0 becomes 1, 0, 0. Here I've got an inversion on a toggle on the most significant bit, so 0, 0, 1, most significant bit 0, gets turned into a 1, and then I got 1, 0, 1, which is what's coming out here. And then here the least significant bit gets toggled, and so as 0, 0, 0 becomes 0, 0, 1. So it's a toggle. If it's a 1, you change the bit. If it's a 0, you leave it alone. Toggle flip-flop, also known as a buzzer. So, here's a JK flip-flop. I wire J and K together. What did I just make? This is like a Chapter 7 question. What kind of flip-flop is that? Well, let's do this. Q plus is equal to J K prime, sorry, JQ prime, or K prime Q. If I wire them together, J equals K. So then this becomes J Q prime or J prime Q. That's if you wire them together, assuming J equals K, because I added a wire. Well, toggle flip-flop, Q plus, is equal to T Q prime or T prime Q. So if you wire these together, you built a toggle flip-flop. So all you have to do is assert it into a 1, and then this is going to toggle. And it will continue to toggle until it becomes a 0. And if you hold it as 1, you built a buzzer, because it's just going to keep toggling. That's what it does. That's what toggle flip-flops do. Moreover, and here's the cool part, if you take the output and put it into another JK flip-flop, also wired to 1, right, now that's another toggle flip-flop, take this, run it into a clock, and take the output and run it into the clock input on the next stage, the output will ripple into the next stage. This can be QA, this can be QB. If you ripple the output to the next stage like this, you've created what's called a ripple counter. Ripple counter is cool, right? Because you can build these things without any gates. How cool is that? But there's a problem. The ripple counter is asynchronous, and that means that you have to wait for the last gate to settle. And the delay from here is going to be added to the delay from here before you can be guaranteed that the output is valid. And if you have yet another stage, you've added even more delay. And if you have 80 bits, then you've got 80 bits worth of delay in this thing. And that's no good. You might not like that. QC prime. Right? So that's your ripple counter. So the ripple counter is generally slower than a synchronous counter, because the synchronous counter can change all the bits at the same time. But the ripple counter is cheaper. You can just wire a whole pile of these counters together, and blammo, you got yourself a nice counter. It just happens to be asynchronous. Because the changes will ripple through at a rate which is a function of the delay in the JK flip-flop. And that's an answer to another question in homework 9. Hint. Any other questions about homework 9? This was fun, wasn't it? I feel like there might be some learning going on, but I don't want to be overly optimistic. And no other questions about homework 9 because it's so trivial? 14. Oh yeah, another reverse engineering question. Okay, this one requires clean sheet of paper. So reverse engineering, first step, we got to write the equations. Looks like I got T sub D, T sub C, T sub B, well there's a T sub A, but T sub A is equal to 0. So it's trivial. Oops, T sub B is not equal to 0. And so then what you got to do is you got to write out the equations for T sub D. Who wants to help doing that? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Well, there's C prime D prime. Go going into an AND gate. And that feeds into an OR gate. Well, what's the next one down say? The next one's B prime C prime, yep. What's the next one? BCD. BCD. What's the next one? Oh, that's it. And then what's T sub C? You guys are doing it. This is great. You tell me. Yep, BC prime. Next. Yep. I never had it so good. This is great. You guys are doing all the work. How about T sub B? And that's it. So now it says here, I got to write the present state. I only need BCD. I don't need A. It's going to just write out B, C, and D since A is 0. Whoops. Let's do it again. And now I've got inputs, T sub B, T sub C, and T sub D. Whoops. I'm writing this in binary. Incorrectly, by the way. If I see the pattern 1, 0 in B and D, then I know T sub B must be a 1. And I see that here, and I see it here. All the rest are 0. If I see the pattern, oh, I missed this one, 0, 1. I've got to have 0, 1. It's going to be a 0. That's right, that's going to be a 1. Yeah, okay. Next one, T sub C. I'm looking for pattern 1, 0 in BC, which means I have to have 1 over here, 1 over here. I also need to see the pattern 0, 1 in BD, which means I got a 1 over here. Got a 1 over here. I need to see the pattern 1, 0 in CD. Add it over here. Over here. Everybody else is 0. Then for D, I need to see the pattern 0, 0 in CD. I see that here. I see it here. Then I need to see the pattern 0, 0 in BC. So that's here. And here. And that's it. And I need to see 1, 1, 1 for BCD, and I see that here. Everybody else is 0. Now I have my remapped excitation table input, and I am ready for my next state. Oops, I don't need A. So now, if I got a 1 in the least significant bit, it flips. So 0, 0, 0 becomes 0, 0, 1. I got 1s in my least significant 2 bits, so 0, 0, 1 becomes 0, 1, 0. I got toggle flip-flops. Most significant 2 bits are set, so 0, 1, 0 becomes 1, 0, 0. And 0, 1, 1 becomes 1, 0, 1. And then it looks like I'm going to flip all the bits on BCD here. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So on row 4, I flip every bit, so 1, 0, 0 becomes 0, 1, 1. In row 5, I flip the middle bit, so I get 1, 1, 1. Row 6, I flip the two most significant bits, and I get all zeros. In row 7, I flip the least significant bit, and I get 1, 1, 0. So now I got a present state, I got a next state. And my next step, finite state machine diagram. So now, if I'm in state 0, I go to state 1. If I'm in state 1, I go to state 2. If I'm in state 2, I go to state 4. If I'm in state 4, I go to state 3. If I'm in state 3, I go to state 5. If I'm in state 5, I go to state 7. If I'm in state 7, I go to state 6. If I'm in state 6, I go back to 0. That looks like a counter. And this is a degenerate finite state machine. Having reversed it into a finite state machine, I can now proceed to select one of the answers. Let me see if I can find it. So I have something here that says 0, 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, 7, 6. 0, 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, 7, 6. I did it. I made it. I got it right. I get 100. I get an A. Wait, I'm not actually taking this course, so I don't get a grade. Darn it. That always happens to me. So, there you have it. Exercise 14. What do you think? So let's look at the reverse engineering formula for exercise 14. Okay. Write the equations. We did that. Write the present state. Did that. Write the remapped excitation table. Did that. Write the next state. Did that. Write the finite state machine. Did that. And that's the steps for reverse engineering. What do you think? Who got confused by that? And be honest. This is not easy stuff, but it's harder if you don't read the book. You have to read the book. I'm going to make you read the book. No, I can't make you read the book, but you really should read it. It's important. Don't just put it under the pillow and think you can absorb it through osmosis. You've got to actually read the book. What else? Other questions for me? Yeah, this is chapter 8. Yes, sir. Yep. So yeah, I don't know if you tuned in a little late, but you know, I had mentioned that you need to look at figures 8.23, 8.24, and this is going to be the Moore machine versus the Mealy machine. And you need to read all of chapter 8. I think I even gave the page numbers at the beginning. Right there. Oh, and there's the figures too. Sure. Anything else? Any other questions about this very trivial homework number 9? How many questions are there here? How many questions in homework number 9? 34 questions. 34 very easy questions. And this is just one of them. It's only worth 2.94 points. 2.94 points. It's a very awkward number. What else? No more questions, really? I'm just thumbing through all of these wonderful questions. Number 4. A microprocessor with an 8-bit wide data bus uses RAM chips. RAM chips of 4096 by 1 bit capacity. How many chips are needed to provide 16K bytes? So if each chip is 4K by 1, I need 8 to get 4K bytes. And then I need another 4 to get 16K bytes. So I'm going to need 32 of these chips. 32. Yeah, each chip only has 4096 by 1 bits. But you wanted bytes. So to get one byte, right? 1 byte equals 8 binary digits. Abbreviation is bits. So if you want 4096 bytes, then you got to have 8 of the 4K by 1 chips. And if you have 8 of those, all you get is 4K bytes. And then if you want to have 16K, you're going to have to multiply that by 4. Yeah, now 16K, not to put too fine a point on it, is 2 to the to an integral power of 2, which is I forget now. 16 bits is 65,536, and 15 bits is 32K, and so 14, 2 to the 14 is 16K. But if you think about it, that's not 16,000. Any more than 4K is 4,000, right? Because it's an integral power of 2. It's 4096. So they're all multiples of 1024. So you're going to have 2048, 4096, 8000, whatever that comes out to, 192, I guess, or something like this. And then 16,000, blah, 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 whatever that is. I guess you would have one way you could do it if you had a calculator, is you could take 1024 and multiply by 16, and that would give you 16,384. That's one way to go. So 16 NK is equal to 1024 times n bytes. So if you had 48K, it would be 48 times 1024, which comes to be 49,152. So 48K is really not 48,000 bytes, it's really 48 times 1024, which is 2 to the 10. Now the question is, are the bytes static RAM or are they dynamic RAM? What's the difference? Well, dynamic RAM uses a gate, like a field effect transistor. This is the gate. And then it gets charged when the gate is asserted. And the data line is asserted high. When the gate's active, the data can write to the capacitor, and then the capacitor, well, I'm off the screen, then the capacitor charges. But as you all know, and as fate would have it, capacitors leak. And so this dynamic RAM is dynamic because the capacitors are all leaking. It's very cheap to fabricate, very dense from a semiconductor fabrication point of view. But unfortunately, it requires that you refresh periodically, or else you're going to lose the data that's been stored in the capacitor. Moreover, that makes dynamic RAM a little bit slower. But one thing you can do is you can run these things in parallel with one another, and then they call that double data rate random access memory, DDR-RAM. You can quad band these things. That means put 4 in parallel. You can do all kinds of interesting, tricks. With you can make synchronous double data rate RAM, all these other things. But in effect, the original RAM is volatile, right? There's non-volatile, and then there's volatile. And all the RAM like this is going to be volatile, and that means that when the power is lost, you lost your data. This is not like a flash drive, which uses a floating gate system, which we will talk about later in the course. So another form of volatile memory, random access memory, is called static RAM. And 1 bit of static RAM is the moral equivalent of a D flip-flop. And that's a bit of static RAM. And it's volatile too. If you lose power, the data stored in this in this D flip-flop is going to disappear. So they're both volatile memory units. Both volatile. Any other questions about homework 9? Really? No questions? Alright. Then I'll give you a question. Design a 3-bit gray code counter with D flip-flops. That's a question that can appear on a final. How do I approach this problem? Right. I got my steps, right? What are my steps? Well, I don't know. It says here forward engineering, right? Forward engineering says you need the present state, next state diagram. You got to select the flip-flop. You got to get the remapped excitation table. You got to write out the circuit. That circuit is your implementation, but you don't get to there by jumping ahead. You got to go through the steps. Present state, next state, select the flip-flop. How do I do present state, next state for a 3-map gray code counter? Well, first thing I need is this is an open-ended English language statement. I don't know how to do that. So I got to figure out how to do a 3-bit counter. So I get myself a K-map. Zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I write out my procedure for getting the sequence. Now I need my finite state machine. 0, 1, 2, sorry, 0, 1, 3, 2, 6, 7, 5, 4. Forget that. And that is my sequence. Then he says write the present state, next state table. So here's the present state. I need 3 bits. A, B, C. Remember this? Now I need my next state. If I'm in 0, the next state is a 1. If I'm in 1, the next state is a 3. If I'm in 3, my next state's a 2. If I'm in 2, my next state's a 6. If I'm in 6, my next state's a 7. If I'm in 7, my next state's a 5. If I'm in 5, next state's a 4. I'm in 4, I'm back to 0. Now I've done my present state, next state table. Based on the design command for a 3-bit gray code counter, I figured out how to do a 3-bit gray code counter. I wrote out my finite state machine, did my present state, next state table. I go back to my list. It says here, select a flip-flop. Well, he says design with D flip-flops. So I know what it is. He told me. And then it says do the remapped excitation table. So now I gotta have 3 flip-flops, D sub A, D sub B, and D sub C. They're all D flip-flops because it says with D flip-flops. And I know if I want a D flip-flop to be a 0, the input should be 0. If I want it to be a 1, the input should be a 1. So I copy this. I know what you're thinking. Why should I have to copy this? Well, not every time will the flip-flop be a D flip-flop. Gotta go through the steps. Now I can do the circuit. But to do the circuit, I'm going to need, I don't know, some kind of a K-map. I'll need 1 for D sub A. I'll need 1 for D sub B. I'll need 1 for D sub C. Suppose I should have gone in order. That will make this D sub A. That will make this D sub B. How's that? And then now I can fill out my my K-maps. You know what I'll do is I'll make all the ones green. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? All the ones are green. So I'm going to have ones on 2, 5, 6, and 7. I'll have ones on 1, 2, 3, and 6. I'll have ones on 0 and 1, and ones on 6 and 7. That's enough for me. I don't have to fill in the zeros because I know the rest are 0. So now all I have to do is loop. I loop here. and write that D sub A is equal to, and that's, oh, I forgot to label my K-maps. This is terrible. See? There. So then this is going to be BC prime, and that's going to be AC. That's going to be BC prime, and that's going to be A prime C. That's going to be A prime B prime, and that's going to be AB. So that's it. Once I know these equations, all I need to do now is write down the implementation. So I don't know if I have to do all that. So that implements this, and then you have to write the implementation for the other two. And that gives you an implementation for the gray code counter. And that's how you do that. Do you need to see me finish the circuit? You can do that yourself. This is exclusive NOR, you know. That's A exclusive NOR B. So if you like, you can. So there's your implementation using forward engineering of your gray code counter using D flip-flops. Then I said, oh gee, these are complicated. Let's change it to T flip-flops. Then what would you do? Well, then you have to go all the way back just to this part and then write T sub A, T sub B, T sub C. And then you'd have to write out the toggle flip-flop inputs. And every row would have one bit of change. Right, that changed. The middle bit changed. The most significant bit changed. You only have one bit on any row. Here you'll have one on bit on any row. The least significant bit changed. Here we have the most significant bit changed. Here we have the least significant bit changed. Here we have the least significant bit changed. And here we have the middle bit change. So there's only one in each row. There's only one bit changes as you go from one row to the next. Isn't that cool? T flip-flop. T flip-flop. Then you have to get the K-maps for the T flip-flop and re-implement it with the T flip-flop to see if it's a better way, cheaper way to get your form of implementation. So then you can compare the two implementations and see which is better, T or D. And you can choose your flip-flop. Here I said I had to use D, but if I didn't have that, then you could essentially use whichever flip-flop you feel gives you an easiest implementation. And you could, in principle, even mix the flip-flops. although I wouldn't recommend it. So I think that's all we have time for today, unless you have another question. It'll have to be a reasonably short one. Any more questions? Homework 9? Due Monday. Want to see another Homework 9 question done? No? You guys are burned out on this stuff? I'm just getting going. Let's see if I got any more here for you. Whoops, sorry about that. Alright, well then, here's what you want to do. Read chapter 8. Bring your questions for Homework 9 to class on Monday. And don't think that this is easy stuff. It isn't easy stuff. Maybe I make it look easy, but that just comes with years of experience. And when I first saw this stuff, there was nothing easy about it. Nothing easy. So you really have to apply yourself to learn this stuff. It's pretty interesting in the sense that, when you do finite state machine design, you can make very, very fast machines. You can build string recognizers that run much faster than any hardware. You can build sorters. You can build dedicated machines. You could build, I don't know, I haven't done this myself, but actually there is some VHDL for building a little Bitcoin miner in an ASIC. And when people go out and they want to get a real Bitcoin miner, they buy the chips. And so those chips are hardware implementations for solving the hashing function in a blockchain. And so that's kind of cool, mining Bitcoin. But, of course, I think the energy consumed in mining Bitcoin is greater than the energy needed to power all of Norway. I read that somewhere. So that's not very green. And it's not even producing anything, although somehow people are making a lot of money at it. Any Bitcoin miners out here? Anybody mining Ethereum or any cryptocurrencies? I used to have students who were mining Dogecoin and Litecoin and stuff like that. So that's what I have for you for today. It's a beautiful day. Enjoy the day. Get away from those computers. They're going to ruin your life. And thanks a lot for your attention. Thank you. If anybody needs some advising, because registration is coming up, hang around. We'll do some advising. Thank you. Oh, okay, very good. We can set up an appointment now if you want to. Let's take a look. What is tomorrow? The 9th? Yeah. You want to try something in the morning? I got a general faculty meeting in the evening, in the afternoon. How about 9 o'clock? All right. And you want to shoot me an email with your phone number, and I'll give you a call. You can tell me now if you want. What number should I call you? Great. Geez, I've been recording this. I'm going to have to edit it. All right. Thanks a bunch. Enjoy the day.